Hello, everyone. My name is Joshua Yoder, and welcome to the Joshua Yoder Show. Today, I get to talk about one of the things that I like to do, and that's some art stuff, more specifically, photography. And one of my guests today is a master of photography, if you will. He is the owner of,
I wouldn't say master. I'm
uh,
mediocre.
but he is the head of the Baumgardner Photography. My good buddy Sam Baumgardner. What's up, Sammy?
Just another day in the hood, brother. Just sitting here peeking at the Super Bowl. Doesn't
Yes,
really look like we're missing anything, but
yes. At the time of this recording, the Super Bowl would be playing.
it is.
That
Who you picking, Josh?
doesn't really matter to me. I just hope for a good game.
Me too.
but but once again, Sam, thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, I'm glad you asked me to be on, Josh. It's not very often that the photographer gets picked for this kind of stuff.
Well, I'm a big fan of art, and one of the artistic things I like is photography. And I think you do a great job as a photographer, and you put in a lot of great effort.
I have my good days. Every blind squirrel finds a nut, Josh.
Well, I appreciate that, but I guess my first question would be, what got you into photography?
Well, I started photography when I was 17, I think, 18. Uh, I started taking pictures of fire apparatus because that's what I like to do. Volunteer fireman since I was 14. So I started taking pictures of fire apparatus. And the next thing you know, my girlfriend at the time was pregnant. And one day she says, "Hey, go check the porch." I'm like, okay. I go out and check the porch, and it is a box from Canon. And she bought me my first Rebel Canon Rebel. What was it? XTI, regular XTI, and that kind of started everything. Just kind of this, I don't know, speedballed from there, I guess you'd say.
But hey, no, that's awesome. And for me personally, I always enjoy, the beauty of having being able to have photos, whether it be like family reunions or
Mm-hmm.
go see like report sports or just something anything artistic. So
Right.
I guess my next question would be, what's your usually go to thing you like to take photos of?
Well, I like a little bit of everything, honestly, but I mean, you know what my go-to right now is, and that's sports, and that's wrestling, and we're not talking like high school wrestling. We're talking professional wrestling, and I really enjoy getting to go out as a photographer for the Sentinel and capture pictures of the high school sporting events, just different things in the community for kids. That kind of stuff really makes me happy, being able to see kids enjoying themselves and all that. But the wrestling's what the biggest thing is for me right now.
No, that's awesome, and I can concur. Being a writer, I love to help report things and write about stuff to like show people that look what these kids are doing or trying to do. Kind of
Right.
build up a community. And it sounds like you're the same way with your photography.
Yes, it takes a village. Usually, that village is very small in this business, but um, without the support of my loving wife and my kids, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. So,
No, amen to that. And what was how did you get involved with the HWF?
well, that's the funny story. So, uh, you met Tim, right? Tim Miller.
Yeah.
Okay, so Timmy and I, we go way back to when I was knee high to a grasshopper. He was best friends with my dad when I was a kid, so he was always kind of around, and I've been friends with him since. I mean, he was the best man in my first wedding, and he was present for my second wedding, and we've just been really tight a long time. Uh, right around Christmas 2021, I get a phone call, and he says, "Hey, can we talk?" Or he sends me a text and says, "Hey, can we talk?" I said, "Yeah, call me." He says, "I need you to talk to my buddy." I said, "Okay, for what?" he said, "Well, did I see you post on Facebook you got a new camera?" I said, "Yeah." And I just gotten a new Canon Rebel. I don't remember which Rebel it was now, but like I said, it was 2021, so it was what, probably the 7 or 8, whatever they're on. I said, "Yeah, I'll talk to him." And I get on the phone with him, and he's like, "Well, we're looking for a photographer for a wrestling show," and I'm like, "Whatever, I'll come try it." I shoot sports in high school, stuff like that. And when I was a kid, like 5, 6, my grandparents got me into wrestling, WWE then, or WWF then, which led in WWE. Uh, I walked away from it for a long time because I just didn't like the product they were putting out at one point. And anyway, so that's here or there. But Matt says to me, he said, "Hey, can you come up to the house here? And, one of these nights when we're practicing and, we can talk." I said, "Yeah, I'll come up." First night I go up, there is probably 4 inches of snow on the ground, ice. And you know
Yikes.
how it was out back of Matt, or how it is out back of Matt's.
Oh yeah.
It's craziness. And there they are. What was it, 6 or 8 of them in the ring, in ring gear, and 3 layers of sweatpants and sweatshirts, and they're out there taking bumps in this cold, icy weather. And I'm like, what is this stuff? Because I can hear them. I can hear them taking their bumps as I'm walking across the street from West End. And I go to start walking across his dad's parking lot or parking area, and they're like, "Who's that? Who's over there? Who's this?" I'm like, "Oh no, stranger danger!" Loud as I could. It was really funny. They all like really stopped what they were doing then to see who it was, and it just kind of spiraled at that point. Um, I went from not knowing Matt and half, well, 3/4 of them guys, other than Tim, obviously, and then I found out later that I've known RD Mosh since he was newborn. Didn't realize that until we talked. Uh, his mother and my mother were pretty good friends when we were kids, so uh, it's just kind of been crazy. It's been a wild ride. I mean, we're in the 4th year with them. Yeah, 4th year, and or no, 3rd year. Sorry, my mind's it's been so long that it's just not. So much has happened.
Yeah,
Um,
that it has.
I mean, I went from just being there taking pictures to now I mean, I've pitched ideas before, but the big show coming up here in March, the Heritage Rumble, has been a talking point of mine for 2 years, 3 years almost. And it's been stuff that me and Matt have bounced back and forth. And just last year we were driving, where were we going? Jim Thorpe, I think, because we've been all over the place. And we're driving, and what happens is on the way to shows, him and Trista are usually with me and Chelsea, and we're always bouncing stuff for shows off of each other, And I said to him, I said, "Matt, it's time that we do this Rumble. We've been talking about this for how long?" And he's like, "Well, how do we, like, what's the end game of it?" And we both looked at each other at the same time and said, "The same thing as WWE's Royal Rumble. It's a shot at a belt." And he's like, "Okay." He said, "Well, since you're the one pitching this," he said, "and you're sponsoring the Heritage belt, let's make it for the Heritage title." I'm like, "Okay." And it just kind of went from there. And um, now we're looking down the barrel of 30 guys getting in a ring in a couple weeks and seeing who wins. Uh, it's kind of funny. We just talked the other night, well, last night, I guess. My mind, like I said, is all over the place.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I
But
told
last night after Seven Mountains, I went to Matt's, and like I do after every show we go to, and We're downloading the photos, going through them, going through video footage, uh, and I had saw a wrestler and his partner at uh, WTW, which is in Summit Hill, which is up near Jim Thorpe, which is way up there. It's a long ride, um, at least for us. Going up, doing a show, and then coming home. It's a long day. Uh, but I met this wrestler up there. His name was Victor Atlas, and he's pretty good. I don't know if you saw the post I made last night on Facebook or this morning on Facebook, whichever it was. But I said to him, I said, "Hey, I said, let's bring this guy in. I think but kids in Lewistown, meaning the fans, are going to love this because this guy, I mean, he is legit, and he looks like one of the meanest SOBs you ever met in your life. Definitely somebody you don't want to meet in a dark alley." um, he's like, "Okay, we'll reach out to him. See how much he charges," and got a hold of him. Just so happened that he was not in his match yet and had time to talk, and he was at another show, and he said, "Yeah, let's do it." We locked down price, and turns out he's bringing his tag team partner / manager with him, and he's getting involved too. And it, there's been a lot of people lately who I have pitched who just worked out. Uh, I'm hoping that he does, and I'm hoping his partner / manager does. Aaron Connors, I was the first person to pitch him, uh, to bring him in. It was kind of funny because my reasoning behind Connors was, he looked a lot like Artie Mosh did when he was just Artie Mosh before he was part of the Suns. And I said to Matt back then, I said, wouldn't it be funny to bring in this guy who looks like Artie Mosh and have them wrestle each other? He's like, "I don't know." And there was a lot of conversations in between there, and when it finally happened. But the next thing you know, we go to Pro Wrestling Express in Pittsburgh on McKeesport, and there's Connors, and it's his home promotion. And it's like, what? And the next thing you know, like, we're all talking, and Matt looks at me and says, "Okay, you get your first wish." And it's just kind of spiraled from there. We've done a lot in the past 2-3 years that just it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and to go piggyback what you said, to see how far HWF has come since Matt
Mhm.
tried to bring it up, and I've been in talks with Matt here and there. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about, being a photographer there, and really just not just in pro wrestling but in sports, but explain to the people the difficulty of trying to make some sweet action shots.
Remember Blind Squirrels and Acorns?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's me. Uh, the sweet action shots, man. That's Cisco all day. Francisco Soto, my man, he is from Curb Media Group out of York. Cisco is beyond phenomenal, um, and he actually helped myself and Dawn Kerstetter. He's been helping her too, uh, with how do I want to say it, like settings and whatnot. Like when we get to the show, at least the first time we shot at Heritage, I went in and I said to him, I said, where are you starting your settings at? I'm lost here. And he got me on the settings that he was going with. And he said, let me know what yours look like. I'll let you know what mine look like, and see where we're at. I mean, and with my camera, um, focusing, focusing is the hardest part. Uh, the composure of a photo, I mean, it depends on the move. I mean, knowing with having what 5-6 matches on a wrestling show, excuse me, you don't always know what's coming. Like, and you don't have time to go to the back and say, hey, what does anybody know what's coming up? It's no big secret. WWE has pulled back that curtain, and said, we rehearse this stuff. We don't rehearse it, but we talk about it. And you don't always get that moment to check and see what's going to happen, where it's going to be. But like sometimes you'll have somebody come up to you and say, hey, in my match, there's going to be a spot that you need to watch for. Here's what's happening around it. You know, just keep an eye out for it. Um, it my favorite part of the photography for HWF is the promotional pictures. I like that personal connection that you get when you shoot those because, we do the trading cards and understanding a person's character.
Personality.
Yeah, that was the word I was going to say, but their character overall, you need to know, are they a good guy, a bad guy, what kind of traits do they carry, what kind of traits do they like to portray. And like there's just some guys that come in and you really have to tell them what to do because they don't know. And then you'll get other guys that come in who walk up to the backdrop and you just say go, and and then we're off to the races.
I
And
want to. I
up
don't mean.
until my argument with Isaiah Frazier at the last show, he was one of those guys. I'm really personally I'm upset with him because of the way he acted. He disrespected me and my family and the guys from the firehouse, in my opinion, with his actions at the last show. You were there. You saw what he did. I
Uh,
mean, I never felt so close to being in an actual fight in front of people like that. Like, I literally thought we were going to throw hands. And then when I realized that on my left is Larry Carter and on my right is Chad Johnson, two people that I not only respect but trust, and they're up with me. Like, I knew they were in the ring with me. When I realized they were up beside me, and I was like, okay, maybe I actually have a chance against this guy if he tries to swing. But I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I haven't. I mm. Anyway, that's a story for another time. I'm sorry. I get squirrel.
no, it's
Uh,
all good. But I want to talk to you about the whole trading card thing because I always thought that stuff was cool growing up as a kid, and then when you were selling them and you had them up there, I was like, man, how'd that idea come about?
uh, the same way you just said. When I was a kid, I had a box. I'm talking a box of trading cards, and it was always my thing. I loved it. Uh, I lost that box somewhere in the move with my grandparents at some point. I lost a lot of stuff in that house when they moved out. Uh, but that was one of the things that I loved. So I took a was it a tops card?
Yeah,
I think it was
tops.
no, I'm trying to remember which card it was, but I built out the box, the white box that's on our trading cards. I built that from a tops card. Like I laid it down on my in Photoshop, like I took a picture off Facebook or off their website or something, and I sat this card on there and I copied the box, and then I took it and I laid it like I didn't take their image per se, but I just took their box that they used, and Matt had a background, and I just cut that background into that box, and we started laying people into it, and then we started messing with the fonts and the logos and how we wanted this and how we wanted that. And then the next thing I know, Matt says, well, we need championship cards too. I'm like, okay, I don't know how to do that. I'm not that savvy with Photoshop. I'm pretty decent at it, but next thing I know, he sends me this image, and I'm like, okay. So I throw the people that he wanted those images on, and we just, it's been. I actually just counted all of them the other day. Let me see it. Oh crap! I just restarted my computer. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Well, while you do that,
I'm back here.
yeah. Well, let me ask you this question, Sammy. Obviously, you've done sports and all that stuff, but has there been other things you like to take photos of?
Um, I mean, I shoot a little bit of everything. Um, I personally, I like shooting senior photos.
For
Believe it
kids
or not.
getting ready to graduate high school.
Yep, that's not the right file. Let's see.
So what makes you enjoy making those taking those photos? Just something
This
help make
it's the
memories.
same thing with yeah, word Samuel. The same thing with the promotional photos at wrestling. It's about the personal connection. Um, there's a lot of these kids. You tell them, at least I do. I tell them, look, a couple days in advance, we talk. I ask them what their favorite things to do are. I ask them what how they feel about certain things, and like a lot of them are hunters right now. A lot of the kids we did were hunters. So did I not save that file now? Sorry, I'm multitasking. Um, but I asked the kids, what's your favorite aspect of hunting? And like there was kids that hunt, kids that fish, uh, kids that really didn't have anything. I mean, other than gaming, I took there was a kid, there's a pair of kids from Mount Union uh, who both unfortunately lost their parents uh, a number of years ago. And at one point, they were best friends with my oldest son, and they kind of just became our kids at one point. They were here every weekend. They were constantly wanting to come down here and stay, and like at one point we had them both involved in wrestling with us, and they were both training, and it's just crazy the way wrestling brings people together. Um, I finally found that file. So right now, there's 73 different trading cards that we have.
Nice.
And I'm getting ready to do another dump of probably 10. I think is the next batch.
Dude, that's awesome.
It is, except for it doesn't like my wallet.
Yeah, it is a hard business to do.
Yeah, I mean, and we don't really make anything on them when we sell them. I mean, we try to keep them as cheap as possible because we want people to be able to have something to take home. And, not everybody can afford a $15, $20 t-shirt. Unfortunately, it really does take almost all that much to make a t-shirt anymore. At least the way that most of the wrestlers do it. And, we want to make sure that they have something to take to get signed, or, something to take to keep as a memento. Um, Matt and I both have been trying to keep um, the smaller uh, posters, and we've been trying to put them out one of our tables every show, uh, even just for grab and go. I care less about them. I'm not, asking somebody to pay for them. But the cards and stuff, that cost me money to print, and we just we've had a decent amount of people who actually are trying to collect all of them. So,
Hey, no, that's pretty cool. Especially it's all about creating memories, right?
right.
Well, and let me ask you this, Sam. Has there been anything that you would like to try with your photography, but just never had the chance to?
There are some things that I am looking forward to trying. Some of it I'm not going to bring up because it seems as though every time I talk about trying something that I've seen somebody else do, um, it seems to get done by somebody else, and then it's just like somebody else local. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Right.
trying to do stuff that other people local aren't doing. Uh, I started shooting pictures with uh, fire bubbles, and as soon as I started doing it, another person in town did it, and it's like, okay, I haven't really had time to completely commit to this yet, but we're going to try it again. And I've done a couple different shoots with those, and uh, like atmospheric smoke or actual fog machine smoke. That's one of the things we want to get into this year. I think I will say that because everybody else is doing it. Doesn't matter. Um, but there's a lot of things to incorporate in some of this stuff. There's a lot of people to watch that are doing it. I just don't know what the future completely holds for us yet. Um, there's a lot of things coming, is what all I can say.
Oh no, absolutely. But is there anything like, for example, that you're not interested in doing in photography wise?
That I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Uh, I can't say that there isn't anything I don't want to do. Uh, there's some things that I won't do, and that's just not anything I'm going to talk about here, though.
Oh, okay, understandable.
I mean, everything's a case by case basis. You never know when you're going to have the want to do something. It's just
Well,
like the thing with, like I said with Matt. Bouncing ideas off him for the last 2-3 years, and things are just finally starting to stick. And you keep throwing the same thing at same or throwing the dart at the wall, and you keep hitting the same thing, same thing, same thing. All right, now we got to try it. Prove it wrong.
no, that's fair. That's fair. But I would also get your opinion on this too, because I've talked to a couple of my buddies. The whole introduction of AI and all that stuff.
Don't even get me started.
Well, I guess what well, I'll try not to cause any issues, but like we were talking about with us being writers, we're like we see a lot of people now trying to do things and they act like they wrote it when they didn't. And I wonder how that affects, people trying to do photography and all that stuff.
You watch my Facebook, don't you? You do. You're a closet fan. No, actually, recently, now you said that, I'll just say it. Uh, Recently, at a fire that had a fatality that
Yes.
uh, really kind of irked me, but there was somebody in town here that actually took one of my photos and cropped my copyright off of it and gave it to one of the news media stations out of Harrisburg.
Hmm.
And I need to call my lawyer tomorrow. It reminds me. But we are currently in the middle of looking at litigation on it and taking them to court because, like, there's nothing that irritates me more than seeing not only my work, but other people's work get taken and used by somebody else for gain. Um, but one of the photographers from another promotion in the was it Lancaster? Yeah, Lancaster area. Just a couple weeks ago, shot some pictures at a show, um, and somebody else took his pictures because he didn't put his uh, copyright on them, took his pictures and submitted them to a national Facebook page for wrestling and claimed them as their own. And it's like, come on. It's hard enough to get recognized for your photography or your skill, to have somebody else steal it, have somebody else sit down at their computer and tell it, oh, I want you to do this. And it does it for them. No. Get out there and learn your own skill. Like, quit being lazy, get away from your keyboard, and go out and explore.
No, that's interesting you say that because my friend and mentor Brian Carson, he had told me he knows I'm a fan of Frank Miller. He's one of my inspirations as a writer,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "Hey Josh, do you mind if I read you this 500-word story?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And he goes, he reads it, and I'm like, "Wow, that's that kind of reminds me of Frank Miller." And he goes, "Well, yeah, because it's 100% AI." Somebody had typed up. He says, "Can you write me a 500-word story in the style of Frank Miller?" And I was like, "Holy crap! It sounds exactly like Frank Miller." It's
I'm not surprised. Speaking of Brian Carson, shout out to him.
yes,
He is phenomenal. Him and
indeed,
Kenny both. I mean,
absolutely.
that's no question, no doubt. I mean, the three of you brought uh, Matt onto you guys' podcast for Hometown Sports so many times, and you guys have been big supporters from the beginning. Um, and uh, not many people know this. I know this because I work at the Sentinel as a contractor, but I had to do some digging to find this out. There was recently an article in the editorials. I think it was posted Friday or Saturday is when it was in the paper, and it was written by Brian. And I just, it was something I was at kind of asked to do, and I passed it off because I couldn't find the words that I felt were right. Uh, but he just nailed it out of the park. Um, I wrote I wrote the editorial about the smoke detectors and whatnot a couple weeks ago, and I was asked to write one again, as another reminder, and I'm like, it's I I can't, I because I'll end up pretty much saying the same thing I already said because that's all that my creative mind sees. Um, and the next thing I know, like, this is in the paper, and I see people posting on Facebook. I'm like, what is this? And I sat down, I read the whole thing, and immediately picked up my phone, and I'm on the phone with one of the editors. I'm like, okay, who wrote this? And they're like, well, Brian did. I'm like, okay, but I messaged him right away. I'm like, dude, you knocked that out of the park. Like, you said stuff that I would have been afraid to put in there because I'm not as adverse as a writer. I'm more take the pictures. Um, but they've been giving me some creativity and some uh, leniency, I guess you'd say, and let me write some stuff, and it's pretty cool. You know, I'm no Pulitzer Prize winner or anything, but I'm okay at it.
Don't sell yourself short, buddy. You've done a tremendous work yourself.
Well, I mean, you did too in your time when you were writing for the Sentinel. I mean, I know you still write for Kenny and all that. And you're trying to do your own blog stuff and all that. There's a lot that can be said. I mean, you're doing more now than I think you did before, honestly. And like the whole podcast thing you're doing, Like that's something that me and Matt have been on each other about for years. And, we've pulled the curtain back a couple times, just me and him. And, I know he pulled the curtain back with you what, 2 months ago, something like that.
Yeah, it was a little while ago, and it was a fun experience because it was well, honestly, we started having conversations I wasn't expecting to have, but honestly, it felt like maybe it was God's way of maybe letting some things out that we can just
Mhm.
let go of and move forward on. Which honestly, I'm glad because to see where he's come from and what some of the stuff I went through, obviously we went through two different things, but we both came out the other side of it. I like to think.
Well, I know the, it's funny because, we're talking about pulling the curtain back and all that. We're working on this documentary too. Uh,
Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
the in-house documentary we're working on, and we've been beating that around the bush for 2 or 3 years. There's a lot to be told in that story, and uh, I know that we've had some conversation, even borderline disagreement on things that should and shouldn't go in that. There's a lot. I feel that the story of wrestling in Lewistown in general could really change the way people look at it. Uh,
No,
it's funny because like when we first started talking about it, that's when we saw it was like I don't know, 2 weeks later we saw them. They pulled the curtain back on a reel from WWE, and we're like, what? And then we're still talking about wanting to do this documentary, and the next thing you know, you see them put out that they're gonna pull the curtain back on the Cody Rhodes story. And we're like, what? And like, there's stuff that we've done and stuff that we've talked about, just a handful of us, and it's like you turn around and there's WWE doing the same thing. Now, me and Matt joke about this all the time. It's like, do they have a camera in the red room, or are we just actually literally on the same wavelength? It's kind of fun. You know,
Well, yeah, it's cool because Matt and I have talked about it all the time, and we talk about it on our podcast, and really since we've known each other since our freshman year of high school, we both
mhm,
talked about like how how big pro wrestling really is in our hometown.
it
We
is.
yeah,
I
one
that
thousand percent.
we
Like what?
proved that in January.
Yeah,
400 people stuffed into the firehouse, and that's not counting talent. That's not counting the people who were doing the behind the scenes stuff. The people working the food, people working in the yeah, at the merchandise tables. None of
yeah,
that. That's just people in the building
yeah. It was
watching.
insane. It was insane.
Which might I add, there was a group of kids. This is the first time we've seen hardly any of these kids from. They were high school. They all play football. They all play lacrosse and something else all together. And they literally lined the steps in the back of the engine room from the bottom to the top. And those steps were full. I don't even know how the hell they stayed up, to be honest with you, because there was that much weight. I mean, I'm not calling anybody fat. There's just a lot of people on the steps trying to see.
Yeah, and well, I just say it because like we just knew how much. I mean, not just pro wrestling, amateur wrestling. Wrestling's big in
Oh,
our little
dude.
community, and to see them pull that off, and it was something that we've always talked about. And I think having pro wrestling could really help. And I think honestly, going back to the documentary, I think it's a story that it needs to be told because I think it could show us that hey, we may not have much, but we can make something together and let it grow, and for us all.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a lot of stuff that happens that we don't even record. Like me and Matt, we joke all the time about it, that we need to put a camera up in the famous Red Room, because there's nights where we'll go in there, I'll go up at 9 or 10 o'clock and I won't leave till 5 or 6. I'm talking at night till the morning, and I mean, that's changed a lot now since he's working full time with the way his work is. He doesn't do that very often anymore. Usually, when we're up that late, it's after a show or something like that. But
Right.
like, it, next time you see him, I'll give you one here. Next time you see him, ask him how many times he sat where where Luke Gallows sat, or where Carl Anderson sat. It's every time we're in the car going anywhere, and I mean anywhere. He'll look over at Tristan and he'll be like, "Honey," she's like, "What?" "I'm sitting where Luke Gallows sat." She said, "Yeah, I'm sitting where Carl sat." And you know what else? He says, "What?" "I bet you Luke sat here too." Yeah, he did.
And shout out to the Good Brothers, by the way. They Anderson and Gallows were really great guys.
Oh, dude, amazing men, amazing. We talked. I swear, from the time they got in the car, I don't think we stopped talking till probably Thompsontown. I think we finally took a minute to just take in everything we talked about the whole way up the road. And in the clips that he put in the preview for the documentary, that's us going to pick them up. That's literal video that he shot on his phone driving down the road. Now the funny thing is that if we wanted to, I could pull. I have a dash cam in my car for other reasons, but I can record face forward going down the road. And I also, on our way to shows, I record us with my GoPro. Uh, I put it up on a mount inside the car in the center and turn it on. And we've caught some crazy stuff. We missed out on some crazy stuff because the GoPro's malfunctioned. But
Yes.
I mean, it, probably one of the best things I ever bought for wrestling was the GoPro because it's really cool. I wear it on my head. You've seen me have it on my head.
Of course, yes.
And Matt's son Matthew, he has one that he uses one that belongs to Dawn, and he puts it on his head, and we both record everything we're doing all day, and at our shows at least, and then when we're out on the floor at the other shows, and it gives you a whole new perspective. I mean, yeah, you can see Maddie has the what's that thing called? The thing that holds the cell phone to record. Uh, Crap, I can't remember the name of it. You can see him holding that and recording on that the whole time, or you see me bring my camera up, and I've even used. I don't know if you saw some of the TikToks I've made, but I've used footage from my GoPro for different fires, and I tried doing it for one of the wrestling shows too, but I don't remember if I ever finished it. There's just so much going on.
Well, let me ask you this, because we talked about the documentary and all that stuff, and I actually thought about bringing it up to Matt. Wouldn't it be kind of cool if we did it like at Miller Theater?
I can neither confirm nor deny if we've already talked to the Miller Theater.
Well, I will say though, because when I heard about it, and honestly, I would like to talk with Matt and Tristan more about that. Heck, maybe they can come on this podcast and talk about it. But people need to also understand too, like coming from like I said before, we're a small community here in Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
and so to something people let me think like, well, it's just a documentary. Like, well, it may not be a big deal to you, which is understandable, but to us, this was like a combination of everything that we all try to do, whether it be the writing, the
Mm-hmm.
storytelling, the photography, like yourself, or videos, or the wrestling. It's just all about one little group that's just trying to make something big for their community. That's all.
So when we were in the community center, it was hard to do for me to do that, what I'm about to say. But since we've been in the firehouse and we have all that extra space, like I do catch myself all the time where I'll step back, take pictures because we have a lot of production. We do. We have, two people with them things with phones on them, and we've got what, 4 or 5 photographers now. And it you don't have much space up there because you don't want to block the people watching's view. Uh, but I find myself stepping back, backing myself up onto the entrance stage and just watching. Like it, and seeing the little kids get all excited. And I remember how I felt in the living room at my grandparents with my cousins watching pay-per-views, as they were called then,
Yeah.
to being in the writing room for our events now. Uh, it's actually humbling, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's crazy to think that the feelings that I felt at that age, I'm now helping create for those kids.
No, absolutely. And I try to do that with my writing because, I try to help you guys out with, continuing storylines and, try to, hype up each show and just try to my best. That's all we can do. But it's just,
Right.
I'm with you though, to see like from when I was, a freshman in high school to like where it is now, I think it's a beautiful thing, really.
Yeah, I mean, and I think something is also very important to point out, and I know Matt has already talked about it. I can't remember everything you guys talked about in your podcast. I apologize. I should have re-listened to it
It's
before
okay. It's
came on
okay.
today. But the fact it's funny, and I shouldn't laugh, but right before Matt and Rob made amends, I looked at Matt in the red room and I said, wouldn't it be awesome for you two to finally sit down, hash your shit out, move past it, and make wrestling in Lewistown that much better because now you guys are all working together instead of against each other.
No, I agree with that because
And
I didn't like seeing them go at each other, honestly.
no, and I mean, knowing what I know now about the two of us, it's wild. Damn thing. But here we are. You know, the last 2 or 3 shows, Rob himself has been on our show. Uh, Matt and them have been doing stuff with Seven Mountains again. Uh, most of our students have gone to Seven Mountains and, you know, been in the crowd supporting the guys who are on the show. And I mean, we try to do that everywhere we go, though, too. But like seeing them all work together again is just amazing.
It truly is, yes. Truly is amazing to watch, honestly.
I mean, and now we have one of the things that really got me this week, and this was in the past week, was last Wednesday. We shot production pictures for promotional reasons of Simon Walker, Wendell, and uh, oh my God, he is going to smack me when he sees me. Thunderball Bill. Jeez, that was hard to think because I kept wanting to say Orion, but I already shot Orion's pictures are from a couple, right, 3 shows ago. And then there's another one that we don't have his name yet, which we didn't shoot his, but that's because uh, he has really been one of those ones that is always in the ring. Like he always is one of the first ones to offer up to learn something, which he should be as young as he is. Uh, but shooting the promotional photos for those three kids, and I can say kids because they're all younger than me, but shooting their promos and like trying to help them build character where we are and moving forward has just been absolutely crazy. Like because these are the first three that I've really, put input in on. And, you know, I have tried to put input in on other people before and it just didn't work out the same way, I guess. Uh, but Wendell, when you see the way Wendell goes, that's all stuff that we have just figured out in the last few weeks. When you see, Thunderball Bill is stuff that we have been wanting to have, but we didn't have somebody to do. Simon Walker. Simon Walker has been 2 to 3 years in the making. He is absolutely uh, his character is a character that we have been needing in a long time. Uh, and I know that Matt is really hyped up about that character because that is a character that he has wanted to help build for a long time. Now, obviously, the young lad that is Simon Walker hasn't been with us that long, but uh, his character is something that has been in the works before he was even there.
No, but that's awesome. And I guess my last question, Sam, is what are your future goals and hopefully what would you like to ultimately achieve with your photography and all your creativity?
I don't I don't know if I can even answer that because I mean I've accomplished a lot of things in photography that I've wanted to accomplish. I've had the cover of a national publication. I've had photos in national publication, multiple national publications. I've worked for the newspaper. I've worked uh, for other wrestling promotions in other states. I've photographed not only promotionally but in ring experience uh, multiple names from WWE. Uh, and that in itself is a whole nother story. That's a whole big ball of wax to get into. But I mean, how many people in Lewistown can say they can open their phone and call somebody who, in my opinion, has to end up being a first ballot Hall of Famer in WWE? I have Doc Gallows' phone number in my phone. He has my number in his. I'm hit when they come to town in May. I go get them. When they came to town in October, I went and got them. I talked to them all day. I don't know if I could say this or not. I'm going to because it's hilarious. If you follow Carl Anderson's TikTok, Carl Anderson has up until October had never seen a horse and buggy. They call and say, or Doc calls, says, "Hey man, I'm ready to go." He said, "I'm getting Carl. He should be just about ready as well." He said, "How long is it going to take you to get back out to us?" It's about 5 minutes. So me and Simon Walker, we get in the car and we're going out there, and he's like asking me what to expect, how what etiquette to use when he's talking to them. True true professional ahead of his time. He doesn't want to fuck up. So anyway, we get out there, and Doc is out front, and I said, "Where's Carl?" He said, "He's coming. He's getting his stuff." He said, "We just got done shooting a promo up here at the horse and buggy sign." He said he's never seen a horse and buggy. I said, oh, okay. And about that time, you hear the horse coming down the road. And I said, where's he at? Here's his chance. He's like, I don't know. So he goes running back into the hotel, grabs Carl. They come out, and I'm like, dude, you had one job to get out here whenever Doc said it was time to go. He said, I had to get my stuff together. He said, I forgot to grab something. I'm like, okay. I said, we just missed your chance at horse and buggy. No, I didn't. And Doc's like, yeah, you did. It just went by right before I came to get you. I said, if you hurry up, maybe we can catch it. So he's like, do you think we can catch up to it? I said, bud, it walks at about 10 miles an hour. I'm pretty sure I can catch it. So they get in the car. We shut the doors. And Simon says, giddy up. I'm like, oh, Jesus. So we get up on the road, and I start driving. And we're getting into traffic. I'm like, oh, we must have caught up to it already. And sure enough, like, just as we crest the next hill, there it is. I said, there he is. And he records this video of the horse and buggy as we drive by it and puts it on his TikTok. It was hilarious. But yeah, he had never seen a horse and buggy up to that. So that's one of the things that we have on our list to hopefully do for them, is to get him the opportunity to see an actual horse and buggy up close in May.
Dude, that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, no, like I said, and they really are good guys. They were good to talk to, easy to work.
Yeah.
But hey, with that being said, thank you so much, Sam, for coming on today, buddy.
Yeah, no problem.
Man, and I wish you guys the best of luck, and hopefully I'll see you guys again soon.
Yeah, no problem, man. Hope to see you here. Well, we will see you in a couple weeks.
Oh, yes, we will.
All right, buddy. Have a good night.
Hey, you too. And to all of you watching, I love you all, and God bless. Be safe, everybody.